how good you are. If you're a world champ or Olympic champion, you're going to go to your back in practice, and you're going to go to your back a lot. So what do? You whine and complain, you kick your feet, or do you get off your back and fight to your feet and start again? That's what wrestling teaches you. That's the great value of wrestling. Get off your back, get back to your feet, and come again. You just keep going.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with a special video edition of Mat Chat. Today I'm joined by Mark Manning, the head coach from the University of Nebraska, and five-time world and Olympic champion Jordan Burroughs. Guys, just thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
So, I know you're short on time, Jordan, Let's just get right into it. Really just want to start out with your mindset. I mean, for people that don't know, you're a one-time state champion in a one-class New Jersey, then came here and went 3-1-1 your last 3 years and won the Hodge Trophy. But, then to just jump, it took you a while to become a national champion, took you a while to become a state champion, but then to jump right to becoming a world champion, really, win the U.S. Open fresh out of the chute.
Sure.
Confidence-wise, where did you find that confidence where you could make that transition so quickly?
That's a good question. I think really for me it was the quickest transition for me. I always took my lumps at every level, right? When I got to high school, it was a difficult transition. I took my lumps early. I didn't place in state until I was a junior. Didn't place in the NCAA tournament until I was a sophomore, was 16 and 13 as a true freshman. But I think that after my senior year was the best that I had ever been at a particular time in my life, and I was rolling high on my confidence, and I felt like I had some tools that were effective against like anyone I competed against. I remember after I took a medical red shirt in 2010, Manning had went to, I believe it was in Moscow that year, the World Championships, and he brought home a packet of DVDs, specifically 74 kilos, and Dennis Argush had won his second World Championship that year. And he was like, hey, listen, this is the world champion at the weight class that you're going to wrestle once you finish up college, right? And he's like, so this is the barometer.
It's already planting the seed.
This is the standard for the world. This is the standard. Like, I mean, and no disrespect to Tyler Caldwell and Andrew Howe, but those were the stepping stones to where I wanted to be the best in the world, right? And so I knew coming back that year I was bumping up to 165 to prepare for the 163 weight class.
So that was part of the reason.
So that was part of the reason why I bumped up to prepare for 74 kilos. Brian Snyder had come here from Arizona State, so my first year with Snyder was my senior year, my 5th year here at Nebraska, and it was just perfect timing. Like, I felt good. I was coming off a national championship season the previous year in 2009. I felt like my skill set was good, my mindset was good, and physically I had developed to a place where I was really strong, explosive, and powerful. And so like I was just gonna shoot a ton. I was just shooting a ton, and I was hoping that it worked. And I got a lot of takedowns, and the more takedowns I got, the more confident I got in my abilities. And so, like, I knew when I got to freestyle, it was a different game now, right? With the rule changes, there wasn't much time in parterre.
Right.
So, like, I just had to be, like, proficient on bottom just to not get turned.
Stop a lace,
That's
stop
it.
a gut.
If I didn't get turned, I knew I could take down anybody in the world and push them out of bounds. Like, I thought that was a relatively easy transition for me. And so I never really wrestled internationally except for making a junior world team in 2008, which I finished 10th place. But I knew that I was in a good place to wrestle and compete with some of the best guys in the world.
Coach, what did you see in Jordan that you're going and bringing back DVDs, a year out? I mean, obviously he's a great college wrestler, but there's a difference between him being a great college wrestler and who Jordan Burroughs is now. So what did you see? Like, when did you know he would be special? And because I'm sure you didn't bring back DVDs at 10 different weight classes.
No, I just saw. I've been in the game a long time as far as wrestling after college, and then just having opportunities to go overseas on world and Olympic teams, and seen a lot of great guys. And obviously, even at 74 kilos, we talked earlier about how many great champions there have been. Lee Kemp, Kenny Monday, Dave Schultz.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a lot of great champions through the years. Well, they're all about my age, and so I saw Jordan have that type of ability and passion for the sport, and I just saw he was just scratching the surface where he really could go. And so I knew, hey, let's just get him thinking on an international level, like, hey, let's be the best in the world, not just best in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you see like Kyle Snyder and Jaden and those guys doing that while they're in college.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, which is insane for somebody like me to think that. But it's like you said, stepping stone. But even at that level. So one of the things that really dawned on me is, I mean, I'm an old guy.
Sure.
Don't say sure, Jordan. That kills me.
You're not. You're young. He said it, right? I'm disagreeing with you.
That's funny. But from a historical point of view, like Coach talked about the lineage of the 74-kilo guys.
Yeah.
And one of my heroes growing up was Dave Schultz.
Absolutely.
And I hear these stories about like Tbilisi where they would just pull guys out of the stands and, basically cheat them on the rules. And he would just keep winning. And then he learned Russian. And then by the end, they're cheering for him. And it seems to me, from what I've read and seen, that you're treated that way by like the Iranians.
Sure.
I don't know how to ask. What is that like?
It's incredible. I mean, I'm not exactly sure why, right? Like, there are amazing wrestlers all throughout the world. Kyle Snyder, for example, is one of them. But just his rapport and his connection with the Iranians isn't as strong as mine. I'm not exactly sure why.
Maybe because you beat one in 2011, 2012.
2011, 12, and 13.
Yeah.
3 world finals in a row, I beat an Iranian wrestler. Right? And so I'm sure they got really familiar with me and watching me compete. But even beating their guys, they were still extremely gracious. And I'm like a rock star there. So I haven't figured it out, but I've always tried to be diplomatic with my approach to the love that they've shown me and extended to the U.S. because it's incredible, man. There's Persian fans all throughout the United States. When we were competing at the World Cup in L.A., they had more fans representing the Iranians than the Americans. And so, yeah, it's great. It's great. Being there and competing there is unlike any place I've ever competed in the world. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think Coach said it right. Maybe because you had those 3 finals in a row against them, but I think we think, well, maybe they should hate you, right? Which is kind of a normal reaction. Like the Red Sox hate the Yankees, stuff like that. But I think they want you to lose to their guy. But this level of respect did it just kind of come out of nowhere to you, where you're like?
I think they're one of the few places in the world that actually celebrates the heroes, right? Like in America, it's like we always want the underdog story. We want the heroes to be knocked off. We want Floyd Mayweather to get beat for the first time. For LeBron James to lose in the NBA Finals. We want to see who can build up and beat the champion. And so they love the heroes. They want to see the hero win and prevail at every point in time. Because they know if the hero wins, they're going to see an amazing wrestler. An amazing wrestling match. When the best guys wrestle at their best and compete at their highest level, it's exciting for everybody to see.
Yeah.
But Dave, I want to add too, though, is the Iranians seen Jordan enough to know that his character and what he stands for is what
top
they
notch,
like too,
right,
not just as a great wrestler.
Yeah.
They see him as a great champion, and that's from within, not just the outside. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the boat. That's
I mean, he's obviously and I mean, talk about you like you're not here, Jordan, but a gracious person. But some people clap politely. And some people treat you like a rock star. And I mean, so it is, right? And neither reaction is wrong. One is just a lot cooler than the other for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that Jason High and I were speaking about, who's an ex-wrestler here of both of ours, was we recently talked about that movie Icarus and the doping and everything going on. And they just recently banned the Russians from the 2018 Winter Olympics. I listened to an interview you did a while back where you talked about it was either USADA or WADA, where there's like an app on your phone and you have to sort of pee on demand, and how intrusive literally on life it can be, and probably even more so now with kids and everything else.
Sure.
How do you feel about wrestling guys in all likelihood are just cheating like crazy, and how do you balance the competitor in you that wants to beat the best in the world versus the sportsman that believes in fair play?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I wish they would have banned the Russians from Rio. That would have been nice.
But you really do feel that way?
I do. Well, I mean, it's difficult, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily the individuals, right? Like, all of these guys on their team aren't like just these immoral guys with no, character and no integrity. And so it's like, it's systematic, right? And so they don't have colleges where they can go and receive full scholarships and get an education and go out into the workforce making 6 figures, right? For them, it's either you become an Olympic champion, make the world team, or they choose a job for you, right?
Right.
And one of the Caucasus somewhere in Russia where it's extremely dangerous.
Right.
And so I imagine this is life-changing stuff for them. So absolutely, they're going to do whatever is necessary to win, but also they've got families to feed and they've got decisions to be made, right? And so I don't fault them for it. I mean, I think it is what it is. I can speak for myself only, so I don't really know if all of my opponents are, you know, doping or on any PEDs. I just do what I can, train as hard as I can, and I don't cheat. I don't cheat. That's all I can say for myself is I've never cheated.
Yeah.
I've always done it the right way, and the bottom line is, if the governing bodies aren't going to protect you, you got to protect yourself, right? And so in that way, I'm just going to prepare as well as I can, make sure my technique is in a proper place, my conditioning is. I've only lost to 2 Russians in 7 years. Yeah,
you lost a lot of people.
Yeah,
in 7
and
years,
so
right?
like
it's not like the list is long.
it's
period.
possible, right? It's not like, regardless, it's such a large margin of error in wrestling that steroids don't make you a better wrestler, right? It might help your conditioning, but it also might make you lazier, right? I can guarantee, since those guys are on those things, they aren't working as hard as we are, right? We compete all year. They only compete at 1 or 2 events a year. And so for us, it's more about honor, integrity, character, and the spirit of sport. For them, it may be about changing their lifestyle. And so, yeah, they're going to do whatever's possible, but it's definitely possible. You just beat them. Just beat them. That's it. That's all you can really do.
Yeah. When you focus on what you can control, right?
Yep.
Yeah. When you know, I've heard you say you're the most scouted wrestler on the planet, and I'm guessing, you know, some of it's in a good, you know, like people are teaching kids how to do double legs and, you know, go behinds and, you know, your go-to moves. But, you know, obviously at the higher level, it's a bigger difference. It's not a compliment. It's how do you keep winning? So either for either one of you guys, like, what do you guys, and not specific moves, but like, you know, Coach Manning, do you have, you know, like walk through an evolution process and say, Jordan, if the double doesn't work, this is where we need to transition to, and, you know, here's how you do it, or, hey, here's video of what we think would chain wrestle off of this, and you're a student in the game, go study it, and then we'll start working on it together. Like, I mean, I've seen Jordan add things to his repertoire, and that can't be an accident, obviously. So what is that process like?
Just constant adaptation to the competition and what they're doing and making adjustments, because that's kind of how Jordan's evolved too. He hasn't just remained the same, you know.
Not just shooting a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, a chest rep. People have pretty good chest reps, but that's made him a better wrestler overall, and so that's also taken away any fear or doubt that he can, how to get to people's legs and how to, you know, score points. That's the name of the game, is score more points than the other guy. And so, you know, being offensive is tough, and it's tough on Jordan sometimes, because people do want to close him down and you know, tighten things up, so it's not a lot of people come out and just wrestle Jordan, you know. So
that was actually one of my questions, like, what's it like to just you know, try to make it. It feels like a lot of guys are trying to make it one scramble matches. You know, it's like I always make the analogy. If I play 18 holes with Jordan Spieth, I have no chance, right? But if, you know, one shot, one hole on my home course with my best club, anything can happen, right?
Like you get him.
Yeah, and it's another Jordan, you know. But I mean, like the same kind of thing, right? Like, and I think that's a lot of these guys' strategy. Obviously, I don't think I'm breaking news with that. But I mean, how frustrating is that?
Which, I mean, we've worked on it for years. I think it's more frustrating in practice than it is in the actual matches, right? Because like,
it's you're like, practicing people stalling.
Yeah, because you're like, listen, just shut down. Don't do anything. Don't shoot. Just keep your hands at home. Don't react to his fakes. And try to Jordan try to score.
So Snyder's saying it's 10 and 2 like pitch.
It's very difficult. Very difficult. But I think too, I mean, there's just difficulties, right? Like us watching video, we can't necessarily count on watching that guy's tendencies against another wrestler to be replicated when he competes against me, right? And so that's the difficult thing. It's like I'll watch a guy and see what he does, but then he'll come out and wrestle me differently, right? A little more defensive, a little more methodical with his approach. But I think for me, it's just trying to add like a wrinkle every year, just like a little something that can keep me ahead.
That's exactly what John Smith said when I asked him about his, like add a gut wrench to one side, add a leg lace, those kind of, a high crotch to the other side or something like that.
Just something small to keep you unpredictable, right? Like when they think that they've done everything possible to shut you down, like, and then like it becomes close, right? It's going to become close. It's going to be difficult. It's going to get harder through the years, but I think that if it's a one takedown match, I feel like I'm always going to win. If I'm in striking distance with a minute left, I feel like I'm going to win every time.
You can see that in your body language, when, where the rest of us are like, oh my God. And you're like, cool, let's go back to the middle and get these points.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be up by 6 or 7, but
sure.
Still one takedown.
Or 10 and be off the mat.
Or 10 and be done. That'd be nice to take fall everybody. But
the other guys are good too,
Yeah, everyone's great, man. Everyone's good.
Well, we got a chance to have dinner with Coach Manning last night, and he said to ask you the story about how you created your Twitter handle, like back when that started. So, tell us about that.
I did. So I made it my senior year of college, so March 2011, and I wanted to just be different, right? Like everyone had like their name. I didn't just want to be at Jordan Burroughs.
Yeah.
Which was already taken, actually. There's a girl named Jordan Burroughs, and in her bio it says, not Olympic wrestler. It's hilarious.
That's got to be a rough life for her.
It's hilarious. Yeah, like the John Jones, too. Somebody's name is John Jones. But they like that, right? Like, if you keep it, you kind of like it a little bit.
You're getting secondary traffic.
Yeah, they like it. But so I just wanted to be different. I wanted to have something unique, but I actually thought it was kind of corny at first. I'm like, man, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I'm only a one-time NCAA champ right now, right? And so, I mean, I did it. I was always kind of like high on my abilities, and I was like, I don't want to call myself visionary, but I kind of visualized what I wanted.
You put it out in the universe.
Yeah, I put it out there.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, I'm really good. I think I'm the best. I have a lot of cool ideas. I know ways to make the wrestling community cooler and to make people think that wrestling is a sweet sport to be involved in. And so, like, I wanted to just be trendy and edgy and kind of change the game a little bit. I think wrestling needed some character and personality at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we had talked about it was not a high point for USA Wrestling in 2011.
No, we were bad.
No, I mean, that's what we said. Yeah, it was better that you say it than we did. Yeah. I mean, I'm friends with Rich Pender, so I can't say that.
Yeah, we were bad.
So yeah, that helped. Well, one of the things that I guess I sort of maybe made the assumption that you were going to wrestle through the 2020 cycle. Have you made a decision how long you're going to compete?
Not officially, but I will be through at least 2020.
At least 2020.
At least 2020.
And how important is it to you to be a 3-time Olympic champion, the most, like to win more than 6 world titles, like to be, the greatest American and maybe the greatest of all time? I mean, how does that...
Well, that's why I keep wrestling.
Because there's nothing really left. You've won everything at least once, right?
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's time to put 2s and 3s and 5s and 6s next to them. And so, no, I mean, I started this journey. It's funny because, like, when I started, I didn't know how much I was going to win, right? I knew I was capable of winning one, but winning multiple was, I mean, it's rare, right? I'm in rarefied air now, but I think that I always wanted to pursue John Smith after I realized I could catch him, right? When you win 1, you're like, okay, cool, but John's won 6, right? You win 2 or 3, and now you're like, okay, now I'm
in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm in the conversation. And so, now at 5, I'm only 1 behind John, right? This year would tie it, and I hope to surpass it moving forward. But I have to win the Olympics again.
What's your relationship like with John?
I think it's good, man. I think John I think he appreciates me.
He appreciates greatness. So
he appreciates greatness. I mean, it's hard, right? Like, who knows, though? Maybe he's like the 72 Dolphins, right? Every time a team loses
We're not gonna
that undefeated record, they're like, oh, thank God, let's have some drinks. And so, like, I mean, he's a competitor, right? So no matter what you say, like, you always want to be the best, right? As much as I love Kyle Snyder, I want to win more titles than he has once my career is finished up.
But he's kind of pushing you right now in a good way, right?
He's right behind me.
Yeah.
He's right behind me. And so, I mean, all I can do is win. I can't affect his performance.
And you want him to win, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want him to win every single time. I want him to win but I want to win, too.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think right now, in pursuit of John, but really just trying to maximize what I have. I think I have a lot of wrestling left in me. I think I've got the skill set to win a few more world titles, hopefully another Olympic Games, and That's really what it is. And so if that puts me at 8 when I'm finished, or if I only win one more over the next 3 years, I think that for me it's just maximizing my effort.
You're chasing GOAT status. It's
yeah, I'm trying.
No, I mean, yeah, for sure. So whenever you retire, 2020, 2024, whatever it is, do you see yourself coaching? And if so, do you see yourself coaching like at high school, college, USA Wrestling level? Like,
I know Manning it's hard, man. It's hard work. It's hard work to be a head
that guy's
coach.
the Energizer Bunny, though, man.
Yeah, absolutely. He drinks a lot of coffee, too.
I know. Last time he was on Mountain Dew, he's off of that now.
Yeah, I haven't seen Manning have Mountain Dew in a long time, but he's replaced it with more caffeine.
Warm caffeine versus cold caffeine.
It takes a special individual to do what these guys do. Like, Manning's on the road a lot. He's recruiting. He's got 30 sons. He's got 30 sons.
Every year, yeah.
Every year, right? And it's a difficult space, but he's affecting a lot of people positively and changing the trajectory of their lives. And so, I mean, I think it's huge. Honestly, I like the freedom. So, from that perspective, I probably won't ever coach, at least not collegiately. But I'm always going to have a hand in wrestling. I want to give back to the community that's really helped change my life. And I know so much about it. Like, you can't just leave something that I spent my life in. I know so much about wrestling.
Maybe you don't leave us.
Yeah. So I'll stay involved. I'll stay away, or I'll stay within it. But as long as I'm competing, I'll be here at Nebraska, and I'll never coach anywhere else besides Nebraska. And so if I did decide to coach, this would be a place that I'd like to be. It's just something unique about helping to continuously forge something that you helped create and to help build. And so it's cool to be here at Nebraska. It's been just an amazing journey thus far for me. But yeah, in terms of coaching, just not my thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because guys usually go one direction or the other. They don't. Well, maybe like it's defined in your mind. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody, when you're interviewing a guy like you're trying to come up with some question no one's ever asked you, which is probably
that's
impossible.
That's going to be very difficult.
But I guess maybe the one thing I can ask you, just the way we're situated here, is you guys sitting next to each other, what has Mark Manning meant to you in your life?
I mean, he's changed my life, right? Like, I came from a place where we had, like, no pedigree and no tradition of wrestling. So, like, I didn't know what it was like to wrestle at the highest level. And I think Manning's one of the few coaches where, like, for him, it was more important to create young men and give them opportunities more than it was to win, right? And so when you see that and you realize that you got someone that's trustworthy as a coach, like, you'll do anything for him, right? And so, like, I bought in because I believed before I even had won. Like, I hadn't won yet before I started to change my work ethic and the way I approach the sport. And, like, that's when the results started to come. I'm like, you know what are my alternatives, right? I don't listen and just go through the motions and stay average, or I can listen, buy into his philosophy, and try to become great. And so, like, I mean, it was really an important relationship. I mean, a lifelong relationship that's been huge for me. Manning's babysat my kids, to when I'm away at training camp, cut my grass, to picked up my mail and put it in the house, to traveled across the world with me.
Yeah.
Cried with me after Rio. Like, it's been a real relationship, and it's wild because, like, when my first time ever meeting Manning, he was recruiting my best friend from high school. Like, yeah, Vince. Like,
I coached Jamel.
Where?
I coached Jamel at Merrimack.
No, at Merrimack. Okay.
College, yeah. So I know
Crazy.
the story well.
Yeah, and so it's so wild how things kind of play out in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's been great. We've been 11 years now. I've known Coach Manning, and yeah, man, it's been pretty cool. I mean, it's been awesome. Yeah, it's been cool. It's been a fun journey.
Coach, it's you can tell it's emotional. Like, what is, I watched my dad for years coach and kind of plug along, and then we got some guys who could actually do the stuff he taught. And I kind of feel like that's what Jordan and James are for you. Not were, but are. But were 6, 7, 8 years ago, and we're in your office, and there's world's top coach honor, and for you to be recognized, that you obviously have to have the right guys to be able to pour your knowledge and heart and soul into. So what do guys like Jordan and James mean to you?
Well, everyone that wrestles for me at Nebraska is important to me. You know, it's just like what I always tell guys, you know, very first team meeting, you know, I'm going to treat everyone fair, but I'm going to spend more time with other people. And so I'm going to have different relationships with different guys that I spend more time with. And so I've spent a lot of time, obviously, overseas with Jordan and James. You know, James Green's made 3 world teams, been 2-time medalist. Right out of college was a 4-time All-American. And both James and Jordan are different people, but they both feed off each other. And so when they're elite world athletes, and so you know, everyone wants to coach those guys. Everyone wants to coach those guys,
but they want you to coach them. I mean, that says something. And
that's part of my calling. But they don't mean they mean the same as Mitch McGinnis on my team means, but because I'm going to pour my heart and soul. That's the only way I know to coach.
But it's got to be cool that these guys.
Oh, absolutely! It's great. It's a journey. It's. I mean, I was never a world Olympic champion, but I tried, right? I wrestled after college 5-6 years. So wrestling is my passion. Like, I put my heart and soul, but, you know, I finished 4th in the Olympic trials, but that was the best I probably could do, you know? So to me, yeah, I wanted to be on that level as far as
you wanted to be doing what he was doing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I lived and died to do that. But so maybe the good Lord had a plan where he knew what he was doing, so I could get that opportunity when I had the opportunity to seize it and be the coach that I am today for James and Jordan. So it all works out, and God has a plan. And you know, Jordan and I are both men of faith, and it's more important than wrestling to us. And so I think that in itself is huge. And obviously having 2 world medalists this last year, and for Team USA to win, we won by the hair. You know, it
every
wasn't
single
easy.
Match counted,
Every match counted.
Crazy, huh?
I mean, Kyle Schneider, we love Kyle Schneider, and I mean, he had beat a tough dude, but Jordan had to win too.
No, everybody had to win.
Everyone had to win.
And
so
had to win. Yeah.
I mean, the stars had to line up. So, you know, we have to keep it up as far as a sport. And I know James and Jordan are going to be putting in the work to do that, and they already have been. And so that's cool because they give back to our program. They give to our guys. And so it's a family here, and that's the neatest thing we see. Yeah. You know, James and Jordan give of themselves. Every guy that comes to Nebraska, where they say yes or no, when they say no, they just missed out on an opportunity to be around greatness. Yeah. And the guys say yes, the possibility is endless. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I know you've got a dual meet tonight. I really appreciate you taking time for me and Jason last night for dinner and practice. And Jordan, I know you got to get a haircut and just got in from Olympic Training Center. Mm-hmm. It means a lot to me in track wrestling that you guys have been so welcoming to us. Needless to say, I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you so much for your guys' time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani from Track Wrestling. We'll speak to y'all next week.
I don't care how good you are. If you're a world champ or Olympic champion, you're going to go to your back in practice, and you're going to go to your back a lot. So what do? You whine and complain, you kick your feet, or do you get off your back and fight to your feet and start again? That's what wrestling teaches you. That's the great value of wrestling. Get off your back, get back to your feet, and come again. You just keep going.